Once again, you already know what it is, and you already know where you have reached the number one up-and-coming professional wrestling collaborative podcast anywhere in the world. This is Clash of the Podcast right here on Hubbard Wrestling Weekly YouTube. And I'm really happy to have everybody with us tonight. Obviously, we've been having a little bit of technical difficulty trying to figure some things out right now still, but we didn't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. We see people in the chat ready to rock and roll. First and foremost, want to say welcome to my co-host, co-founder of Clash of the Podcast, the one and only Conrad Cushing.
What up, everybody? Appreciate you having me on this, Sean, and allow me representing too for the record.
Let's go.
Official. You see the little C?
Let's go. I like it. I like it. Very smooth. Very smooth. Make sure you go to Conrad's thread list to go. No, excuse me.
This is your store.
Oh, this is my store. Oh, my guy. I didn't realize that. That's what's up. So make sure you go to thread list to lock us in, man. Okay, I guess we're having. Okay, we're gonna make a little bit of a change right here, and there we go. Ah, there she is. There's the final boss.
You know, so
what
sorry,
up, though? No, it's all good. It's all good. Everybody give a big warm welcome to the one and only Crystal in the building. It's your time to shine, Crystal. We're introducing you right now. What's going on?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Locked in, ready to rock and roll. Want to say hello to people in the chat. First and foremost, big shout out to Clown. Welcome. He says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, Clown. Our guy Quilly is in the building. Clash of the Podcast regular. He says, what's up, everyone? Your boy Quills is here to enjoy the special WWE Debate edition of Hubbard Wrestling Weekly, Clash of the Podcast. I've been looking forward to this all day. Let's get into it. And as we talk about that, let's talk about this. Welcome, Malik, to the show. Oh, my goodness.
My fault, bro.
It's all good. We're live.
We had a big storm here, man, so the power went out and shit, man.
It's all good. We're happy to have you here, man. So you're right on time, man. We just made the introductions. Tell everybody who you are, because you're new to my channel as far as these specials are concerned. What's going on?
Have I not been on your channel before?
You've been on before. It's been a minute. That's what I'm saying. Some new listeners, some new viewers.
Okay. Yeah. Is it just your channel or is it Conrad's too?
No, it's us. Both of us. This is our show together.
Okay. What's up, everybody? Narcolepsy Boy 94. I don't remember the last time I've been on either guy's channel, but it's probably been a while. It's been a while since I've been on either platform. So happy to be here. I know Sean was on our pod not last week, but the week before, 2 weeks ago. So he comes through on our pod from time to time. So thank you guys for having me coming through. Sorry, a little late though, man. It's because the power, man. Power is going crazy, man.
Better late than never. So let's keep the momentum going. M. Leezy Fo Sheezy says, hello, good evening. Hope everyone had a good day. We hope you had a good day too, man. Obviously, myself and Conrad letting people know we had a couple of tech issues. And XG Dub is in the building. Appreciate you. XG Dub giving a shout out to Malik. XG Dub giving a shout out to me. And Joel's in the building representing. Appreciate you, Joel. Appreciate you being here. Big shout out to everybody in the chat. I know that means that's a shout out to Big Conrad. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you. And a special announcement that we are going to be giving away a special code for the BKFC Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship pay-per-view coming up on August 3rd for one of our viewers. So we appreciate you guys being here. And a big shout out to Crystal as well.
Thank you.
So let's rock and roll, guys, man. Obviously, we know why we're here. Initially, this was supposed to be a show where we did a little preview of SummerSlam. We kind of do our quarterly pay-per-view previews here on Hubbard Wrestling Weekly on behalf of Clash of the Podcast. But there's been so much controversy, I think it's probably centered around me, in my opinions, about WWE. Conrad as well, but not as vocal. And then, little birdie probably got in Malik's ear and was like, "Oh, I see what Sean is doing. Let me holler at him. We need to collaborate." And then obviously Crystal's always in the mix, so Crystal was like, "All right, I got to collaborate too." So this is kind of like a perfect congealed conglomerate of opinions. I say the top half of the screen are probably a little bit more critical of WWE than the bottom half. But either way, let's just rock and roll. I want to start off with Crystal. Let's just give a general synopsis. What do you feel about the current World Wrestling Entertainment product under the Paul Levesque regime?
I'm very happy with it. I have not been this interested in wrestling in a very long time. Do I agree with everything? No. But generally, this product is the best I've seen in years.
Best you've seen in years. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Malik, I know where you're coming from, but let the viewers know. I mean, I know you're a Triple H guy, you're a WWE guy. Objective, but it sounds most from our previous conversations like you are very happy with the current regime. What say you?
Kind of in the same boat, man. It's just more so, I guess the last, we could say maybe 2 years, I guess you could say, or maybe a year and a half. WWE's just become more interesting to me again, opposed to what it was a few years ago when most of us weren't either watching or maybe kind of keeping up with it, but wasn't watching faithfully. Kind of just, social media was keeping us around with it and, kind of just keeping in touch with it, but not really, just it wasn't good enough to really kind of pay attention to. Like, you weren't missing much if you weren't watching faithfully. So for me, it's just gotten better as a whole. Like, I don't expect everything to be perfect. I think we talked about this.
On your show.
I'm on my show. I don't think there's ever going to be anything perfect in wrestling. There's never been a perfect era. Like, there's some of the best eras ever. You could still point out some stuff that are bad if you go back and look at them. You know what I mean? So there's no such thing as a perfect era. For me, it's just become more interesting again, opposed to what I was watching a couple years ago. Like, compared to what the product at the time frame, was, 5-6 years ago.
All right, so I'm gonna let Conrad go because Conrad and I are on the same page. However, Conrad's a little bit more chill than I am, so I'm gonna let Conrad go. Conrad, you're a very level-headed person. Clash of the Podcast every Monday night at 6:05. What say you? I mean, the current WWE product, Paul Levesque at the helm. But
it's all right. I mean, I'm not as thrilled as some of the other people are with it, and I have my reasons that I could probably get into, but most of the time those reasons would be like, oh, you're being a hater, but oh, you prefer AEW, you prefer this, you prefer that, but it's not just about preferring something. I tell you the things that I like about it, but there are also things that I'm like, no, this is very, very bad. This is not a good idea. And these things will end up stifling you later, but I'll save that for when we get into specifics.
Here's the deal, y'all. I'm not going to wait. We're just going to get straight into this thing, man. And Malik and Crystal, feel free to jump in. Look,
yeah.
I'm real tired of people forgetting who Paul Levesque is. All right? Paul Levesque has shown himself to be a certain type of human being. Certain things I will say on air, certain things I will not. What I will say on air is that Triple H is very known. It's been documented that he plays favorites. He played favorites as a competitor. He played favorites as a person who was an influencer, as world champion. And now he plays favorites as the booker. And to me, for all this Rage Against the Machine swag that he allegedly had when he was running the streets with Shawn Michaels, where did that go? Now, I know we all have to grow up. Crystal knows me when I was young and dumb and running the streets, right? We all have to grow up, right? But at the same time, we don't lose the core values of who we are, right? So for me, this whole Rage Against the Machine thing that he was doing 20 years ago, or excuse me, probably 25 years ago, you started seeing the writing on the wall, I'd say in 2002, 2003. Like, okay, well, you know what? I don't think Booker T is a proper fit for being world champion. I don't think Rob Van Dam is a proper fit for being world champion. I don't think that Jeff Hardy is a proper fit to be world champion. Okay, well, how did you feel in 1999 when allegedly Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't want to lose to you one-on-one at SummerSlam? It offended you, right? It bothered you, right? You felt like that was unfair, right? But now you want to play that same card when you get a little stroke against Jeff Hardy, against Booker T, against Rob Van Dam. You forget about what it was 5 years earlier when Stone Cold allegedly said, I don't want to lose one-on-one to Triple H at SummerSlam. Let's bring in Mick Foley, and Mick Foley can beat me, and then Triple H can beat him the next night on Monday Night Raw. So I'll throw it to Chris. Let's just start there. Let's start at the core of it all. Let's throw it to Malik first, and then Crystal.
I mean, you bring up some good points. I mean, everybody knows Triple H's track record. Most people know his track record and stuff that he's done in the past with many other top guys. You know, when you get to a certain position within the company, you know, everybody, I guess, maybe wants to protect their spot and doesn't want to lose it. So, you know, they get a little selfish. And you've heard many stories about the Cenas, the Hogans, the Shawn Michaels, the Triple H. You know, they done certain things that, you know, makes you question, like, oh, that's kind of sketchy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why you would do that. So I understand how you could feel that way just based off what we have heard and what we, you know, have been told. I mean, we don't know what's true or not true. I mean, because we're not
we're not
in the business, but just based off what we have heard for years, you know what I'm saying? But not just by one source, but other sources or other people in general, that it could be true or not true. I don't. Maybe I just don't watch it the same way as you do. Maybe I kind of just understand that. I mean, playing the favorites is kind of. I mean, it's unfortunate to say, but that's kind of like the thing that has been going on forever in wrestling. I mean, Vince was like that. A lot of people were like that. You know what I mean? So, I'm not saying that it's right. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it's right, because there have been everybody. No matter what era you grew up in, you could name at least maybe 3 wrestlers that we all thought could have been world champion or could have been at the top, and politics, you know, were the reasons that they weren't in those positions for many reasons, you know what I mean? So it's unfortunate that maybe that just how it is. And maybe for people like me, maybe it's just come accustomed where I'm just kind of like, it's just whatever, because it's just how it's going to be. You know what I mean? Like I can't change it. So, I mean, I don't know if there's much anybody can do to change it when you get in that spot. And I do agree. I think, much like Vince, I think one thing that he probably took from Vince as well is I think Triple H knows who he likes and doesn't like. I think he knows who he sees potential in and who he doesn't see potential in. And there's always going to be those Daniel Bryans and people that come around that maybe you didn't want in that position that the fans asked for. You're like, all right, you know, this is who you like, and maybe those people will grow on you. But, you know, it's clear that Triple H is a big Gunther guy. He's a big Damian Priest guy. I don't know if those guys would have succeeded under the Vince regime, you know what I mean, opposed to somebody like a Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley was a Vince guy, you know what I'm saying? Triple H hasn't really done much with somebody like Bobby Lashley over the last couple of years. Same with Austin Theory. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Austin Theory's super young and the future could be bright, but Austin Theory was booked a lot better under Vince than Triple H has. So Austin Theory was more of a Vince guy. Triple H, maybe like he's cool, but there's other people I prefer, you know what I'm saying, that could be in a top spot. So some people are definitely going to suffer, as we have seen. Some people are going to thrive more. I guess it's more of a balance. It's more of one of those where I think it's better maybe for like the locker room, where it's people feel more freedom, more flexible to be able to come to WWE and have more freedom and stuff like that. Maybe it's not so tight, you know, where, you know, everything is so under pressure when Vince is there type shit, if that makes sense. But when it comes to the booking stuff, I can see it was kind of the same with NXT. Like, you know, certain people that he liked in NXT that eventually you knew that just never were going to succeed on the main roster. Like Andrade, guys like Aleister Black, you know what I mean? Like those guys were great in NXT when Triple H was there. But when they came up, I don't know how many of us really thought they were really going to reach a lot of that potential on that main roster, you know what I'm saying? So you enjoyed it while it was time. Adam Cole, you know, one of those people that guys know they left for a reason at that time. I think because they understood, I go up here on that main roster when Vince is there, I'm probably not going to be the position that I feel like I know I can be in under certain guys. So I definitely understand the criticism, because playing favorites is an unfortunate politic thing that goes on within wrestling. So especially, I guess, when the favorites, maybe some of your favorites, people that you're into, and then you feel like they have potential to really reach, you know, up here, and then you feel like they're getting held back or they're not getting put in that position. So it could be frustrating. I feel like it goes, you know, in both aspects.
Fair enough. Crystal, like Malik, like I just threw to Malik, I'm gonna throw it to you. We're gonna get into the modern day stuff soon. But I'm talking about like, the crux of Triple H's career, him coming up, the rumors that we've heard. Some documented, some not. The example I gave about what Stone Cold allegedly said about not wanting to lose to him one-on-one at SummerSlam, you would think that he would have held on to that, remembered that, said I would never do that to anyone else. So even before we get to what we're here to talk about, which is the Booker stuff, when I say Booker stuff, I mean having the pen stuff in 2024. What about Triple H? Triple H's, no pun intended, evolution from being the game to being like the cerebral assassin evolution game, where all of a sudden he started, I don't think this guy is the right guy for world champion. Pretty much being a hypocrite and doing to others the same thing he did that was done to him.
I think when you come up and you elevate in your career like anyone, I feel like you don't see things the same way. So you might have seen it as, I'm never going to do what that person did to me. 10 years later, you can say, I can see why they did it. So I feel like looking at him as a wrestler and then looking at him as a boss is two different things. And he may be able to sympathize because he's been through those things, but learning from who he, under his tutelage, he can now understand, listen, some things have to happen whether you understand it or not. So I see both sides of the coin. I see where you're coming from, but I also see that being a wrestler and then running the joint are two different things, and he can see things that other people cannot. Like, for instance...
No, not to cut you, because I want you to continue. I'm not even talking about running the show. We're going to get into that. I'm talking about... There's a reason why I'm starting here. I'm talking about the hypocrisy 10, 15 years ago. Not just running the show. Now, if you want to say he was running the show because he was married to Stephanie, if that's where you're going, I don't know that's where you're going.
Yes, that's exactly where I'm going.
Okay.
That's exactly where I'm going.
Okay.
So I feel like he, from the bitter beginning, he knew where he wanted to go and how he started with this, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like from the bitter beginning, he knew how he was gonna. This has been in this man's plans probably before he got there. You see what I'm saying to you? Like, this was his way in. Even the way he did it was shady. We all listen. Paul Levesque, I respect as a business owner. He was shady. The man came in, started cheating on his girlfriend with the boss's wife. From there on, no one can trust the man. But do I respect him and where he's going with this now? I love it. Like, I just feel like he's seeped in hypocrisy. If you're asking me, I agree with you 110%.
Man, I appreciate. I think you and Malik, both you and Malik Crystal gave some objective responses. Conrad, we've talked about this 1,000,001 times. Like like I said, the for lack of better verbiage, the evolution of Triple H from a budding superstar to the guy who was pretty much running Monday Night Raw as the World Heavyweight Champion. The writing was on the wall, right? I mean, what do you think?
I think he aligned himself immediately. And other people have benefited from his relationships. I'll go even further back. The first time I ever saw Triple H, his name was Terra Rising. Yes, wrestling was like that back then. And then he became Jean-Paul Levesque, hanging out with William Regal. Regal took care of him, and he never forgot that. And he was smart enough to know, if I'm going to get pushed here, they're going to push me within the first year. If they're not, I might as well try to go to WWF where I actually want to be anyway. He did that. He left. And immediately, who did he click up with? The Click. This is even before the shady marriage stuff. He was like, oh, I'm with these boys. They don't do anything wrong. They need a driver. I'm the guy. I'm going to do this. And he's always been in those creative meetings since the Click were able to get in there when they all refused to wrestle at, I forgot, was it Iowa, Sean? I can't remember where they were wrestling.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
There was a show where they all refused to wrestle.
Yeah.
So, and I see other people are learning from this playbook as well in other companies. So if there's 4 or 5 of you going against the promoter, that's a lot of money that's about to be lost. So he was like, all right, I'll meet with you. I got to do what you guys want. And they took advantage of that. It was time for someone to be punished. Anytime someone else messes up in this company, how are they punished and how long, Sean? Forever. Forever. It's unforgivable what you did. Triple H did something that people said was unforgivable, then he laughed about it a year later in all those people's faces that he said sorry to. Everybody doesn't get to do that stuff, man. So I think he's been blessed to be in the position to get away with a lot. And I don't think he realizes how lucky he is, but they've always let him do it. So, ta-da.
Let's take a quick break. Conrad encouraging everybody to jump into the chat, which everybody is. Clown says, Tony Khan did play favorites with Punk until that blew up in his face. That's a fact. M. Leezy says that tweet from Wrestle Feature blew up about who's booking and Triple H has gotten worse with the booking. It's good to feel like you're not on an island by yourself. You know what I mean? DPW says, I think all bookers play favorites. Wrestling is a political business. That's Conrad, obviously. Clown says 100%. Conrad saying DTA is a shoot. I agree. Connor, welcome to the show, Connor. We appreciate you. Every promoter is going to have wrestlers they like and wrestlers they don't like, and it's been that way forever. It's going to be like okay, so let's use that as a jumping point for the modern day stuff, right? Malik, for me, my biggest issue has obviously been the Jey Uso thing.
I was gonna say Jey Uso.
Yeah, but it's not right. But it's not really the Jey Uso thing. It's what the Jey Uso thing represents to me. And we've talked about certain things on the air, off the air, certain things you just can't say online because you're not going to be that guy. But, you can allude to things without saying them outright. But there's certain things, right, that just don't sit well with me. For me, it's all about boxes. Conrad, Malik, Crystal, it's all about checking boxes when it comes to being a champion in this business, right? Either you can be an amazing performer in the ring, which, by the way, 9 times out of 10, maybe 7 or 8 times out of 10, being an amazing worker in the ring doesn't lead you to world championships either. I mean, it would in my book, but, i.e. Ricochet and many others, that doesn't necessarily equate to world championships, right? But I'll leave that as it is. But one of the boxes I would think is in-ring performance. Another box would be, let's call a spade, merchandise sales. Another box would be popularity, right? And then another box would be moveset, which kind of ties in with in-ring performance. So that's kind of one and the same. So in-ring performance / moveset, popularity, merch sales.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about Jey Uso. It's what Jey Uso represents. Jey Uso is killing it from the merch side, and Jey Uso is killing it from the popularity side. So my question to you is, if you're Triple H, Malik, and you want to be fair and you want to do what's right for the business and you care about the fans, and the writing is on the wall that this guy needs to be elevated, not only you're not elevating him, but you're actually sabotaging him. The number is out there, bro. The number is out there. 0-7 in singles title matches. That number is out there. That number is circulating. People talk about that number. What's that doing for Jey Uso? Certainly not helping him.
Yeah. I feel like it honestly really kind of goes back to pandemic for me when Triple H, because you were a big Jey Uso guy before the fans really came back.
I appreciate you letting the people know I'm not a bandwagon guy.
No, yeah. I remember we talked about it during COVID, during the pandemic and stuff. Well, I wouldn't say maybe not a big Jey Uso guy, but I think you were more so impressed that he was able to kind of step out of the tag team shadow for a while to kind of level up and stuff. I feel like I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a time they also could have put the IC title on Jey during that time instead, and they gave it to like Jeff Hardy or something at that time frame, and then they gave him like the Battle Royal, which like nobody cares about that Battle Royal.
Right, exactly.
And he's obviously gotten a lot more popular and a lot more over since then. Maybe bigger than people, or especially maybe WWE thought he would at that time. So I guess maybe it comes down to who they kind of really value long term, because eventually, even if Jey was to become champion, I mean, eventually he's going to be teamed back up with his brother,
right.
And then that whole bloodline stuff is going to happen sooner than later. Eventually, I mean, assuming we all think Roman Reigns is coming back Saturday anyway, so assuming that happens,
and you will be in the building, by the way.
Yeah. So I mean, assuming everything happens the way you kind of think it happens. So I don't really know, man. Jey Uso's kind of a weird, like I guess I kind of understand a little bit maybe, but I do agree with it's like they've had a lot of opportunities to at least give him a little singles push. And then saying didn't even have to be 4 months if they really didn't want to. I'm saying just kind of give them the accomplishment, like, here we're kind of level you up a little bit more type stuff. So I get the frustrations. I think LA Knight was in that same boat. If he wins Saturday, then it's a little bit different with him, because then he'll be moving on.
Saturday better be his moment. Yeah,
I agree. I agree. I think Saturday is his time to win, whether it happens or not. It seems like maybe especially over the last couple years. I mean, we can all probably point out times when we all grew up too, but there's always times when somebody gets really, really hot and you think it's WWE's going to do the right thing with them, and then they always go in different directions, and then they either make you forget about the push, or they just maybe wait a little bit too long. I always use Braun Strowman as an example, bro. I still never.
You were a big Braun Strowman advocate.
I still will never understand why they didn't have him beat Brock Lesnar no more. I don't get it, bro. Like why? Like you had him lose, which did nothing for him. They had multiple opportunities to strike with him, and then when Braun Strowman finally won the Universal title, it was during the pandemic. It was 3 years too late, and not to mention he was a replacement for Roman. He wasn't even supposed to win that match anyway. Like he just basically got put in that match because Roman Reigns, the guy who they wanted to win, said the pandemic happened. I'm gonna stay at home because we don't really know what's going on right now. So they said we need somebody to beat Goldberg here. Right. Just give it to you. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like a pity. Like here, I guess we'll give it to you. And then ultimately, when Roman came back, he took that bitch immediately. So I mean, I feel like there definitely can be moments like that with a lot of people, and I think Jey Uso, unfortunately, is falling into that atmosphere usually. But my thing is, when it comes to Triple H, I want to add, and this is to the both of you because we've had many conversations about Triple H over, I know you guys for a couple years now. Do you guys think Triple H's wins, that maybe big matches that he won, affected him so much where people don't talk about the big losses that he's had? Because he's had big losses too, but I feel like people don't reflect on those as much. Maybe because the wins that he had were more crushing to other superstars that needed those moments. You know what I mean? Because we talked about it a couple of days ago, but like, you know, him tapping out to Benoit at WrestleMania, Triple H, him tapping out to Cena at Mania and losing to Batista. And some of these guys were his guys, like Batista, obviously, but, you know, I don't think he was a big Cena guy at first, at least from my knowledge from what we had spoke about. And then, you know, he obviously lost to Cena. I don't know if he was a big Chris Benoit guy either, but, you know, lost to Benoit at WrestleMania and stuff too. But then you look at some of the other big wins that he had, like Booker T, and then, you know, beating CM Punk for no reason during his momentum. So, like a lot of these wins, do you feel like these wins, because they were so wrong at the time, do you feel like they outshine the losses, and that why people don't talk about the losses as much? Because there's only certain people that get that term, you know, burying talent. You know what I mean? Like the Hogans, the Cenas, the Triple H's. There's only certain people that get that term. You know what I mean? Only certain people get that label next to them. Other people can be able to get away. Like this, for example, like at least for me, like I've never, maybe once or twice, but I never really heard too many people say like Orton or like Edge was burying people, like, you know, all the time. You know what I mean? Like they may have had a couple of matches here and there where you're like, oh, you know, that probably was stupid. But compared to guys like a Triple H, something like that, you don't really hear those guys in that category as much. And then maybe it's because, you know, they haven't, you know, had wins where, you know, they shouldn't have won, you know, multiple times. So that's just a question I wanted to ask, because I've always been a little curious about that topic, because there have been some big wins that those guys had where you're like, you know, you didn't really, and maybe it goes back and forth. I think there's a couple of wins maybe Triple H had where he didn't need it, but there's also maybe some losses where it's like, you did that wasn't your match to lose, but okay, like maybe it should have been like the opposite. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe it kind of goes hand in hand.
I'm gonna come to Crystal with a question with a whole lot of sauce on it, but I have to let Conrad respond to Malik's question. No, Conrad.
Okay. First, I'm gonna have to say,
watch out. If you think I'm bad, watch out.
I think Orton and Edge, maybe not as many, but they have had their hands in some messy situations, in my opinion.
Not to the extent though, like of a Triple H or like a Hogan. I mean, like,
Matt Hardy lost his job because of Edge and the foolishness that Edge did. Not that Matt Hardy did. Edge did it. That's my bro. That's what he thought, and his bro did him filthy, and he got fired for it. That
was wrong, but ultimately, I mean, Matt Hardy came back, and
Randy Orton, Mr. Kennedy, he learned from Triple H. He ain't a fool. Kofi Kingston's push, the first one, stupid. Yeah, right back to mid-card. See you later, bud. You're not in my way anymore. These guys know what they're doing with it, and that's the difference when you mention Cena, Hogan, Triple H. They have the power to make things happen. This is the CM Punk told the best example of it. When John Cena was supposed to beat me at Money in the Bank, he went to Gomez. Sorry, we call them different names on here. Some of these people, Gomez McMahon, and told him, put Punk over me. Okay, I'll do it. Sure. Then I was at this show, so this one hurts my soul. Then Triple H was like, well, I can't do it. You know, I can't do you. If I could, I would, man. You eat dinner with this dude. You watch him eat steak with ketchup. There is no way that you're telling me you can't put me over in this match and you're acting like you would. You're going to stifle my momentum. CM Punk was one of the hottest people in the company at that time. White hot, t-shirt sales, all that. He gets powerbombed by Kevin Nash and then pedigreed. I couldn't believe they fumbled like that. That's the stuff where it hurts.
It's not a fumble when you drop the ball on purpose.
And here's the last thing I'll say about it. Triple H, how many times is he a world champion? Someone tell me.
13 or 14. One of those two.
Would he be a 14-time champion if he wasn't in that family? I'm not saying he wouldn't be a world champion, but would he be a 14-time world champion if he wasn't in that family?
Heck no.
I don't think so.
That's a fair argument. That's a fair argument. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing for a lot of people who are multiple-time champions, though. I mean, obviously they're not in the family, but I guess people who are more positioned at the top, like Cena's 16 world titles, but would he be 16 champion if he wasn't the guy for so long?
Right, and the difference is Triple H has never been the guy, in my opinion.
Never. He's always been either Shawn Michaels backup, or he was the guy at Evolution, but he was not ever the guy in the company.
He was the top heel though during Rock.
He was top heel, but not face of the company.
But he wasn't the face of the company.
He wasn't the face of the company. Not everybody has that title, so you're right. I mean,
I want to kick it to Crystal real quick though, because I want to ask her, because she's a little bit more of a historian like I am, and I want to bridge modern day with historical. I'm a big person when it comes to resume. Okay, what do I mean? I mean that in this industry, for those of us who have kind of graduated from fandom to podcaster, journalists, in my case, I do articles, whatever. We take this very seriously. We love the business, right? So for those of us who love the business, we pay attention and we care about, or I should say I care about, resume. For me, when people like Kurt Hennig have never been world champion, AWA respectfully, but we all recognize WCW and WWE first. When people like Ravishing Rick Rude, WWE never got it done. When people like Owen Hart never got it done. When we can clearly see how I maneuver my seat when I talk about this. This is right here for me. This is real life for me, bro. When people have earned their moment, and I can tell you what those moments are. Rick Rude, SummerSlam 1990, Steel Cage versus Ultimate Warrior. Owen Hart, ironically, Steel Cage, SummerSlam 1994. Who was the other guy I mentioned? I was saying Owen. I was saying Rick Rude. Mr. Perfect, Saturday night's main event, taking a hammer and breaking the WWE Championship. Being Hogan's number one nemesis for about 4 months straight. My question to you, Crystal, is, and I try so hard not to mention Jay Uso. Okay, LA Knight. I'll switch it up. I'll say LA Knight.
No, use Jay. It's fine.
Right.
Use
Okay.
Jay Uso.
Resume. When you earn that check mark on your resume and you don't get it, that's a freaking crime. That's a crime. Go.
I'm not disagreeing with any.
No, I'm saying go. I want your insight.
I mean, my insight is your insight on this one, Sean.
If that's the case, then give it to the people.
Listen, it is a crime, but I also believe, right? And if we're talking about favorites, right? Every position in this world, a boss has a favorite. Every position in this world, everywhere you go, someone's boss has a favorite. So I feel like, aside from Hogan, Perfect had a name coming in. Rick Rude had a name coming in, right? Owen Hart was getting up there. He really made his name in WWF at the time. But I feel like Vince had a way of piping some people down. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to get to it when I give it to you. And I feel like some people didn't want to play the game with him. But I also believe that what you're saying is life in general. You're not always the boss's favorite.
Right.
You know what I'm saying to you? Like, so I agree with you. Do I believe that they were deserving? Yes. I always listen. One of my favorite feuds ever is Rick Rude and Jake the Snake Roberts. Loved it. I'm talking about when Jake's wife was in the front row, all of that, like
There you
him
go.
having his face on his tights. I loved all of that.
Yeah.
But I also realized now, looking back at it, it was the people's thing. It wasn't Vince's thing, and Vince isn't pushing anything. And like you mentioned earlier, Conrad, you said you're eating steak with him. Listen, Shane couldn't tell Vince what to do, and he is his son. You think that his son-in-law was gonna do it? It's impossible.
We're gonna get into that too, because there's a lot of stuff going on.
May I rebut?
Oh man, yeah, of course you
Of
can.
course.
I'm just saying.
This is your Let me. I'm gonna say it right on the air. This is your show too, brother.
Bro. So when you look at it, they handed Triple H scripts and they were like, and he would say, "Who's going over?" The other guy. I'll be right back. Go into the office. It's changed. Writers have said it. They were like, "Yo, I wrote this. Like, what are you doing? Like, is this what we're doing?" The boss said, "Yeah, okay." So he did have the power to change some of that stuff. I know people think that it was like, "Oh, it's all on old Gomez. He must have did it," but he changed his mind enough times for other people too that I'm like, I don't fully believe that. I don't fully believe that. I think it was a little, I'm going over.
No, right. But I also feel like it's not as easy as, hey, Pops, do me a favor. This is what I want to do. Sitting across from in the dining room.
Oh, I do.
I just don't believe that
I do.
always that easy.
Oh, I do.
He ripped the heart out of that
I do.
script writer's person when he went, I don't care what you wrote.
He was acting like Gomez.
I do. I think those Thanksgiving dinners and those Christmas dinners lead to a lot of television.
I just don't think he's got what it takes.
Yeah.
There's definitely people who have better power within, say, as far as changing stuff. But in the end, I mean, Vince is the guy who makes the final decision, so you don't got to listen to anybody he don't really listen to. I mean, at the end of the day, when he was in charge, it was his decision in the end to do whatever he wanted within the company. So, of course, there are going to be people that influence him and change his mind to, like I said, play favorites to appeal to other people. I mean, you know, when it came down, when it finally came down for Vince to manage between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, because he realized they weren't going to get along, he had to pick between one guy, and he didn't pick Bret Hart, so he was out of there, you know, and Shawn Michaels stuck around. So it happens with a lot of
Bret
people.
was loyal. Bret was loyal. He just
was.
wasn't a favorite. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes you
No,
can
well,
show up to work early.
Brett, he loved Brett, but he loved Shawn more.
But he wasn't a favorite. You can love somebody, but it's not your favorite.
Right.
You could show up to work early. You could leave late. You could take a 30-minute lunch. You could do if you're not someone's favorite, they're not gonna push you.
So let's take that point and bring it full circle then, right? Let's bring it full circle. What you just said, what you said, Malik said. So if that's the case, are we giving Triple H a pass? Hear me out the whole way through. Are we giving Triple H a pass for being unfair in his booking because that's just the way it is?
I'm never giving anybody a pass to be unfair.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is life is unfair.
That's a fact. I'm with you.
Like, I don't like that's my, I'm not saying, oh, you know what? He can be unfair because no, like you said, when it comes to merchandise sales, when it comes to popularity, you guys always say it if you think it's the right thing, if you think they're gonna do the right thing. You see what I'm saying to you? Like, I fully agree with what you're saying.
I appreciate you. I'm just saying you got to educate me on why, because I'm about to spaz out on you. I'm 2 seconds. If y'all, I'm gonna let you go. I'm 2 seconds away. No, real talk. I'm this close away from. If y'all think I've been bad before, there's so much stuff I got in my back pocket that I want to say about this dude. But
I think also Triple
H.
I think Triple H also opposed to Vince is like, I think Triple H is a long-term planner. Like, I think he likes to plan things out ahead of time, and he doesn't like to switch audibles a lot. You know, when the audibles got to get switched, like the only time they did it this year was for the Cody stuff. And even then, so I don't really know if he kind of played a factor into that. I think more so The Rock wanted to push for the Roman Reigns and the match with Roman at WrestleMania, but I don't think they expected the fans to kind of react the way they did.
And Rock is getting no credit for doing the right thing.
And I think I'm one of those people who think The Rock was one of the people who did switch it up and realized it, because realistically, if he wanted to push for the Roman match, I think that would have happened. I don't think Triple H would have been able to do much about that. I'm like, all right, I mean, sorry, Cody. I guess we're doing this now. And I don't know what's going to happen with you, but we'll figure it out. So I think I at least just from the stuff that I've seen, especially with NXT and stuff, I think he likes to plan things out, and he likes, like one of the main reasons I think Jey Uso never got that world title, like never thought he was going to be Roman Reigns. So that's out of the question.
That's right.
Yeah, I never thought he was going to be Roman Reigns, but when he went up against Seth Rollins, especially when Punk came back, I think Punk was going to beat him for the title at WrestleMania, and then he got hurt, so they obviously switched to Drew. But I think that was like as soon as Survivor Series happened, I think that was like, all right, this is our plan right here, because they kind of addressed it the next night on Raw when Raw was like, I don't like you, I hate it, why are you here, type stuff. So I think he kind of knew that was his plan, and then it got switched up. But Jay wasn't a part of those plans even when it got switched up. You know what I mean? When he fought Damian Priest, he just became the champ. So okay, I guess you can't have Damian maybe not lose, for a while. And honestly, I didn't even think Damian Priest would even be this champion this long. I thought he was going to lose in Scotland. So I'm surprised he's even still the champion. So just based off the way he's booked, and he might win Saturday, I think he honestly believes in Damian Priest as another top guy. So, I think he has plans for Damian Priest long term. Could he have beat Gunther for the IC title? Sure. Could have been many times that could have happened. I don't think it needed to be Sami Zayn, but whatever, that happened too. So I think more so he kind of has a plan, and maybe not like a long-term plan, but I think he kind of has ideas as far as like he knows what he wants to do, playing it down the road, at least with a lot of things. And I don't think he likes to switch audibles up a lot, because I think that's kind of shown. The only reason he had to was because the fans kind of said, you can't just do this to Cody, bro. Like, that's not okay. Like, especially after he just won the Rumble, and then just pointed to Roman Reigns afterwards, and we knew the agenda, and then he came out on SmackDown and said, I want everything you have, but I'm not going to take it away from you. I'm just going to let The Rock come in and take that. That doesn't look good for him. So
I want to piggyback off that, though. Matter of fact, I'm going to Jason Kidd this to Conrad, because that point means a lot to me. The point at Royal Rumble 2024, according to all reports,
in the documentary,
as well, Cody Rhodes knew what the situation was going to be at WrestleMania. He knew about the switch, that is. Conrad, talk more about Cody going into business for himself and pointing to Roman Reigns when he knew that the switcheroo was supposed to happen.
Why did he not get reprimanded then for doing the point? If you're Triple H, you're the big boss dog, you should have been like, yo, why did you do that? Because you just messed this up. But I don't know if that was really the plan. Like I said, I feel like there's some magic dust sprinkled on that documentary. I don't think it's all real. I think they made Rock look bad on purpose because he's a heel, and they didn't want to reveal everything that was with it. But at the same time, though, wouldn't you have reprimanded Cody for doing something like that?
If you're a real boss,
were they in cahoots the whole time, and he was like, do that? The people will then turn on him, and then he'll have no choice but to either agree or he'll get booed. And he don't want to go out like that. You see what I'm saying? Maybe
it could have been a thing where, because The Rock's on the TK creative board, you know what I mean? So he got some stroke too, to be able to kind of, especially at this stage, do what he wants. He's not going to come back and do anything he doesn't want to do at this stage. So I think maybe more so of maybe Triple H had the Cody stuff planned, but The Rock was going to come in and do his own thing. So maybe he was kind of like, listen, if you want a shot at this, you're going to have to fight for it. I mean, I can do what I can, but there's other people also on that same level that can fight for this. And let's be honest, I mean, Rock versus Roman Reigns, that's a big money match on the table right there. They're going to make a lot of money.
41, definitely 41.
No, I'm saying if they had did it this year, like,
oh, okay.
It may not have been a very popular decision, but WrestleMania wouldn't have suffered if they had the main event.
Like, I got a good example though too. My wife was looking more forward to that match. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm Cody fan, and I get it. Like, you're more of a Cody fan. That's more of the people online. But there were people who were like, no, I really wanted to see Rock and Roman.
Me.
Yep.
I said it from the very beginning. Like, that's why I kept telling you guys, I think they were going to fight. I thought that Roman was going to fight on 2 nights. Like, I never thought that they were going to go for the title.
Well, you definitely called it, Crystal. You did.
And you were right.
But, so I feel like, I don't feel like it's going to go for 41. What I do feel like is going to be the intro into Netflix. I feel like that's going to be the push for them. That's what I feel is going to happen with
Netflix.
Roman.
Now, I want you to continue, but that's a debatable point. Netflix debut is going to be big, but I don't think it's Roman Rock big.
No, it's going to be
Yeah,
humongous.
it's gonna be humongous.
Oh, I don't know, guys.
You
I
gotta
respect what you're
remember.
saying. I respect what you're saying. I do.
Hold on, I'm gonna give you an example, right? You guys know I spent a lot of time in Barbados. It's very hard for you to get SmackDown and stuff in Barbados. A lot of like you can't really stream it there. Netflix it's gonna give so many people around the world who do not have the opportunity to see these things live to see it now. It's gonna open it up. It's huge.
It's pretty big, bro. Especially for
You're
people
not wrong. You're not
who
wrong.
already
I'm
have
just saying,
Netflix, bro. Like that, and not to mention, I mean, there's been a lot of people talking about maybe they could have more stroke on Monday Night Raw and stuff like that on Netflix to do things they can't do on USA and stuff. Like, I'm not saying they're gonna come out here and drop F-bombs and everything, but I mean,
right.
There could be some more things they could do. Maybe they can go over time too. I mean, it's on Netflix. So I mean, if they go 10 minutes over time on Netflix, Netflix is gonna say no.
Everything you guys are saying is 100% on point. The only thing I'm disagreeing with is that I don't think they do Rock Roman on Netflix. I think Rock Roman has to be at WrestleMania.
You're right.
I mean, if they do Rock Roman on Netflix, I'll be glad to say I was wrong. No problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, happy accident.
I took it as the build is what they meant, Sean, when they said Rock Roman, like they're going to come out and start the build on Netflix. And here's why I think that too. And this is
Roman. I want you to keep going, but is Roman going to be a Raw guy?
He's a SmackDown. He's on SmackDown. But he's a free agent, remember? He's a free agent. So
don't get me started about the draft, because I've always said the draft is buns, trash dookie, butt cheeks. The draft is fake. It is a fraud. Anytime they're like, let's shake things up, I'm like, turn it off, because this don't mean nothing. This is dumb. I hate it. It's
but awful. He's also a free agent. I feel like he belongs on every brand.
He does.
Should not be stuck on one.
Oh, that's what they're going to do. They're definitely
I think
Rhea Ripley should not be stuck on one brand. There's certain people. Listen, I was never a Drew McIntyre fan, ever. I am such a fan of him now. Like, the way he's evolved, he does not need to be stuck on Raw.
I couldn't stand that dude, but now I like him.
I love him.
I remember.
When I tell you, a lot of people overlook when, like, a promo. His promos, amazing.
They are now.
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
Like, Lord have mercy. It was rough back in the day. Lord have mercy.
It was.
Yeah.
He don't come out with that super stored anymore. Like, I'm like, yo, where is this guy at? Turn me on at 8 o'clock. I love this because Crystal. Thank you, Crystal. My sister Crystal's explaining the reason why I couldn't stand this dude, but he has gotten a lot better. So much.
I think more so too. It's more of I think a lot of, not every talent, but I think with Triple H, there's more talent that he trusts to be able to go out there and do you like. You don't need a script for Drew McIntyre. Like, you know the story. Go out there and just tell within the story.
And he knows what it's like to constantly be screwed. Let me tell you something. It's always better, right, when you put a little bit of real life in things. He's like, you constantly screwing me. That's real. The promo that Damian Priest did the other night when he was like, he from the hood, and homeboy was like, yo, you grew up like that's your parents' fault, right? It's a little bit of the truth.
Right.
I love, like, that to me is something, you know, when Vince was around, everything was comical, right? A dentist, a this, a that, a guy with the sword was from Scotland. Now it's bringing out these real life characters, which brings me back to like a Dusty and Ric Flair. You see what I'm saying to you? You couldn't tell me that Ric Flair wasn't a pimp back in the day. I'm like, this man is wheeling and dealing. I love a little bit.
That was actually his real thing.
That was his life.
I still believe that Ric Flair is in the house wearing those.
No, Ric Flair was Ric Flair for real. Like, that was real stuff.
Ric Flair did his thing. Ric Flair's been. He says he's been with over 10,000 women.
I thought.
Of course.
I thought Dusty was getting his food made from a little old black lady with big arms back in his house. Like, this is things that I believed in. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, now I'm starting to believe them more.
Let's get it because we're getting going. Conrad, go.
No, I just want to add this to it too. I'm gonna stick up for Drew with the sword too, though, because I know why they did it. That was to sell action figures, merchandise. You can, what's your thing? You have the sword. They were going back to the 80s. That's what they were doing with all that stuff.
Still corny.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, the 80s was Vince. Everybody had this crazy gimmick, right? So you wanted the action figure. You want to buy the little piece with it, right? So I get it. But again, you can tell Vince's hold on things. And then you can tell the other person, we shall not be named, his holder. It's more realism that I love, and I feel like it went back from the late 80s, early 70s to now. Like I'm more in tune now than I was when he was walking around with a sword.
Absolutely. And they put him with the king of promos and the best complainer ever in wrestling, CM Punk. CM Punk makes Drew McIntyre and I'll even say Seth Rollins better on the microphone when he's out there with them. The little bickering, some people find it annoying. I think it's great. It's money every single time.
Let me tell you something. Seth is my modern day Macho Man. I love Seth. Seth is my modern day. I love Seth. You can't tell me nothing. I'm like this.
I love that guy.
I'm telling you,
great,
if Macho Man was alive and he could have been his manager. Like I love everything about him. I love
Sean knows why I'm smiling.
I know every designer that he's wearing when he comes out. Rick Owens, James Valencia. I love everything about him.
Well, the reason why you love, and I'm reading Malik's face. I'm assuming Malik's loves him too. The reason why, Crystal, you love Seth Rollins is the reason why I love Seth Rollins, and the reason why you talk about Macho Man comparison. I know why you're saying that, and I agree with the reason why you're saying that. But there's a reason that Conrad says he's like Macho Man too. Conrad, tell her.
You will never get the top spot. Ever, no matter what you do, no matter how good you are. CM Punk was in the exact same position with John Cena. John Cena was Hulk Hogan and he was Macho Man. That's what it was. And it was like, yeah, you've been the champ for a year, Savage. You're doing great. What do you mean? Hogan's not the champ. Dude, every show ends with Hogan must pose. What is this, dude?
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it to Malik off of this comment right here. Before I was real young. All of us were young. Malik probably wasn't even born. I watched it on tape delay. SummerSlam 88, right? SummerSlam 88. Okay. The main event was Mega Bucks versus Mega Powers. Now, they started off right. Macho Man, Elizabeth, and Hogan came to the ring together, and they came out to Macho Man's music. Now, this is me as I'd say I was probably 7 or 8 watching it in the early 90s on tape. They come out together to Macho Man's music, all three of them. Macho, Liz, and Hogan. Macho Man hits the elbow for the win. They play Hogan's music. What is going on? I was like, this is not the way this is supposed to.
He's the guy. Right. He's the guy.
Right.
I see the lust in your eyes.
It's interesting with wrestling like that. There's always Conrad brought up Punk and Cena. You guys know Cena's my all-time favorite. I grew up in the Cena era, so that was my guy. You know what I'm saying, growing up. But CM Punk is also one of my all-time favorites, and the main reason is because CM Punk was legit the first guy to make me root against John Cena. That whole Money in the Bank build-up, I was a little bit older time, but that whole Money in the Bank build-up, I was like, bro, this got to be CM Punk, bro. I'm fully on board with this guy. It's him. He's the guy, bro. He's that dude. And I always felt they could have easily positioned Cena and Punk like the next Rock and Austin. They could have been simultaneously equal as faces of the companies. You know what I mean? They could have been on that level. Of course, they were never going to put Punk above Cena. That's not a problem because Cena's still top guy. He still sells merch. He's still valuable at this time. But Punk was right there, bro. He was outdoing Cena in merch. He was the guy that people had wanted. Cena was the company guy. Punk was the guy for the people.
Correct,
the only time.
But again, the company is what. Look at what Punk looked like back in the day. Not now. Punk has gained some weight. That's not what Vince always had a look for the company, the bigger guy. Was never in his brain. He didn't care how much the people loved him. He was going for a look. That wasn't it.
And I think
look at how horrible Ultimate Warrior was, but it was a look. I'm gonna give you
that was all flash and no dash.
Let me tell you who was all flash and no dash. Ahmed Johnson. Look at him. Look at what he looked like and what garbage he was. But Vince was pushing him so hard because of the look. Do you see what I'm saying to you? If you CM Punk is not Vince's look.
Easily. I think it shows too. The only time, I think he never really picked favorites. Maybe was Rock and Austin, but I think he probably just generally loved both. You know what I'm saying? Because Austin was never supposed to be that guy, but once he became that guy, I mean, it's just too hard to deny at that point. I mean, it's just everything that he's doing for the company is too powerful. And then The Rock was also there. But the look you also talk about too, it plays into the Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns factor. Like that's why people hated Roman Reigns all those years, because they knew he was the guy based off how he looked, where he came from. And Roman Reigns was great, but Seth Rollins, I think, was more of the guy for the people because that's who they had wanted. And Vince was like, okay, I can give you Seth Rollins, but you're going to have to accept Roman Reigns too, because we're going to make him a star. And, for years and years before they finally had turned him heel, they were kind of forcing Roman Reigns. Maybe even more than Cena, you could say. I mean, I think the Roman hate might have been bigger than people. I think the Roman hate might have been bigger than the Cena hate at one point. It was bad at one point, like especially
it was real bad.
When he was main eventing WrestleMania year by year. When he wasn't even, sometimes he wasn't even the champion. He was in the main events. You know what I'm saying? Especially like it was getting a lot. It was getting a lot. So the look always plays a factor into things too. The look.
Let's give the chat some love right quick, man. The Clown says, he's talking about Aleister Black, I guess. Aleister Black could have killed it if he had not debuted in the tag team. And then had that creaky coffin. I feel you on that. McKinney's in the building. Let's talk wrestling. Welcome, McKinney. Appreciate you, man. Conrad talking to the people. McKinney says, the business of wrestling is a dirty game and your hands are bound to get dirty. That's a fact. Conrad responded that if you don't fight for yourself, no one else will in pro wrestling. That's a fact. Also, Clown, again, says, the bigger payoff for the mainstream fans is him. He's talking about Jey Uso reuniting with the Bloodline. That's going to be the biggest part. We know that, bro. We know that. McKinney says, I'll keep Jay strong and in the public eye backstage, in ring, but until the story of the Bloodline is over, I wouldn't want him to have a title going into the storyline because he'll have no attachments.
But see, to add on to that comment, go back to that comment real quick.
Yeah, sure.
To add on to that comment right there, the Bloodline story, it feels like it's never ending, though. When is it going to end? Because they keep adding new people. They keep rebuilding a new group.
Right,
like, the generation of the Bloodline, bro, they could stretch this story out so long because there's generations of the Bloodline continuing to come up. They all have kids. They all have kids that are growing up within the business. Not saying they'll all fall into the business, but you still got a Zilla Fatu out there. You still got a Lance Anoa'i out there. Like, there's a lot of people out there in the indies that people don't even know about yet that are in the Bloodline stuff. So I get what he's saying, because if Jay was to be a world champion and kind of fall back into it, where does it fit? I get it, but the story honestly feels never ending because they keep adding people to it. They're making a new, like this story could be going on for years, bro. Like they keep adding layers to it.
Hey, Jay, just wait till the Bloodline storyline is over. Well, you just signed my baby nephew, Vince. I mean, Triple H. Like, well, how long am I supposed to wait?
This realistically, like, honestly, like, no BS. This could be a storyline that could last forever if they wanted to.
Forever, if they really wanted to.
If they really wanted to, like, this could be 40 years from now when we're all older and. We could be talking about Roman Reigns Jr., bro, for all we know. Like this storyline could be, and I think honestly they probably, which is smart, they probably did it like that on purpose because their family's been in the business so long they could set people up for life. You know what I'm saying? Which I can't mean. If that was my family, I'd do the same thing too, bro. Like I don't blame you.
Nepotism is real. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
The only video we like, Conrad. He says, "Hey guys, heading to Cleveland tomorrow for SmackDown and SummerSlam. God bless y'all. Look up my guy Malik, man, Narcolepsy Boy. He'll be in the building too, man.
I will not be at SmackDown. I'm actually going to GCW tomorrow, so I'll be at GCW, but I won't be at SmackDown.
There you go.
I'll be in Cleveland though.
I'm letting people know we're gonna be giving away a Triller pay-per-view contest, so stay tuned for that. Conrad giving Vinny a shout out. The only video we like. Clown said actually Lita did. Lita was the one who did Matt dirty, not Edge. They both did Matt dirty.
It was a cohesive unit thing, though. Yeah, it was a cohesive unit thing.
Vinny reminded the people what I was talking about before about how Stone Cold did not want to put over Triple H at SummerSlam 1999. That's a fact.
Yeah, because who did Triple H face that year? It was a triple threat, right?
It was a triple threat, and then Mankind won, and then Triple H won it from him the next night on Raw.
That's right. Yeah.
Vinny talking about Taker. He says Taker's the only political blemish on Taker's record is the DDP stuff in 2001. I didn't hear that. Did any guys hear that he didn't want to do business with DDP?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard about that. I've heard some other ones too, but
Mark Calloway playing politics? No way.
Yeah, I've heard some other ones too.
Ask
not
Big
to
Show.
The extent, though.
Yeah.
Not to the extent.
Really?
That's a locker room leader.
Yeah,
not to
the extent.
You no wrong, man. Oh wait. Vinny says Triple H doesn't give enough credit for putting people over WrestleMania 23-20. Oh, Vinny, the only Vinny we like, but take it easy. Edge and Lita, Conrad, Clown says the Jake the Snake was supposed to have a program with Hogan, but Hogan feared he'd take his shot. I believe that. I never heard that, but I believe that.
If you've never seen the I think it was the first time I ever heard about it was on the I think it was one of the Jake. I think it was like the biography Jake documentary. He talked about like he was promised that he was
Wow.
going to do the
Yeah,
Hogan.
but Jake be lying a little bit. Like, let's hold
No,
on.
but
Hold on now. Jake
what he
be
said
lying
though
a
made
little
sense.
bit.
He never said that
You
he was
think?
going to win the title or anything. He said that he was promised a
To
Hogan,
work with
like
him.
the Hogan
Appropriate.
feud. Like he was promised that feud.
And then he was promised to work with the Ultimate Warrior, but Jake be lying. I love. Listen, I'm a very big fan of Jake. I just told y'all that. But Uncle Jake be lying a little bit. Let's relax.
Uncle Jake has told some lies. I'm not
Uncle
going to
Jake
front.
has told a little
A
lies.
couple of big ones over his
But-
lifetime.
Like Hogan's up here with the lies, and Jake is about right here.
There's a little validity though to what he said on that one, because he did turn babyface right after, like unexpectedly.
A broken clock is always right twice a day.
Just saying.
Crystal's on fire tonight. HGW giving us a shout out, talking about what Crystal and Malik were saying that he agrees. M. Leezy Fashizi, true, he didn't like a section chatting DDP. Okay, wow.
Mhm.
So a little jealousy from the dead man.
No, that was about Hogan.
That's Hogan. DDT.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hogan.
They did. Remember when he had the snake pit? Apparently, he DDT'd Hogan, and then they heard DDT.
You know what?
And he said, all of a sudden, I wasn't doing the match anymore.
I wish I knew what I knew now. I would have been chanting DDT too. McKinney says 100. McKinney says every answer starts with Gomez.
It's always his fault. That's the best cop out ever.
And what he wants, and that just about all the guys that didn't deserve a push, but Gomez thought it was cool or funny. Vinny says Undertaker was a favorite for being loyal. That's true. We all know that. Vinny also says, I think Vince loved Taker and Cena most for being loyal soldiers that didn't make things difficult. I hear you. And Lizzie says, to be honest, you can't make everyone happy when it comes to pro wrestling. Booking. Not everyone can be world champion. That's a fact.
I want to go back to that Taker comment real quick.
Sure.
You know what it is with Taker? Cena was not difficult, but you know why I think he loved Taker too? Bruce Pritchard was able to steal him based on his Texas relationships. Mm-hmm. Just think about this, where he came from. He's from Texas. He knew Booger Red, whatever his name was, all these other places. He was like, yo, I can get you in the WWF. They got a gimmick for you. It was Vince's idea. He did it perfectly. Bruce gets all the credit. This is probably why Bruce is a savior in his eyes. You gave me the best guy I ever could have. He's super tall, whatever. And why do you think they brought Bruce back into the company? Who was Bruce really good friends with? Matt Dream, Dusty Rhodes, baby. How do you think they got Cody to sign? He's a key part in all this.
Another one, too, I think one thing that definitely plays a factor is their contributes to the loyalty when it comes to pretty much doing the schedules WWE needed to do. Like, these guys would legitimately get hurt and come back faster than they were supposed to ever even come back in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, how many times Cena get hurt and he's supposed to be out a year and he's back 3 months later? Taker, you know, if you look at from like 2003 all the way up until his retirement, there was every year where he took a break and was off TV, but he always would come back because he had to, his body was always hurt, you know what I mean? So he'd leave, come back, because obviously it was the contribute to the job, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Lizzie says if anybody but Cody did that pointing to Roman Reigns thing, they would have gotten punished. That's a fact. McKinney says, when Cody came out on SmackDown with the boo-boo face, this is back around WrestleMania season, you knew something was off. But I think Rock was thinking no matter what was planned, he could get it changed last minute, but the fans had other plans. All right. My guy Vinny says, the fact that Cody is main eventing SummerSlam and no one can, that's a good jumping off point. We're going to go into that. The fact that Cody Rhodes is main eventing SummerSlam and no one cares, and we just care about Roman coming back, says a lot. I could not agree more.
I agree too. I
Wow.
always tell people, baby faces are better off chasing the title, not having it. Kevin Nash. I'm not interested in Cody having this. It's not fun to me. It's just not. I'm bored.
I told you Cody is corny as champion. I told y'all. Nobody wants to listen to me.
But I don't think. But to add to your point, though, I don't know what people expect for him to be the champion. Like, he's not. That's the type of champion he's going to portray, because that's what they need him to portray, and it's for a certain type of audience. You know what I mean? Like,
right. But I also think like he's better being chasing a title, chasing somebody who's wronged him. Him being a babyface champion is like, okay, what's next?
But I think that's, I don't know. I think that argument is made for pretty much, I think, everybody, the way I look at it. I just look at everybody has a certain place, and when Cody, I mean, baby faces like Cody and stuff, they're always better off chasing the championship. And then when they become the champion, people are like, okay, now what? You already accomplished it. You know what I mean? But to be a great champion, though, you also have to push them as champion afterwards. You can't just give them the moment and then.
But Malik, stop hugging and stop kissing babies.
That's what he does, though. That's what he. That's what
Stop hugging grandmas in the audience. It's like I'm tired of it, bro.
But that's what he does, though, bro.
Cody stays long enough. He needs to do it. He needs to hug people more. He needs to be wronged. He needs to be like his daddy. He needs to hold the title that's been ripped away from him. I love all of that. I just don't want.
No, he needs to turn heel.
That's what he needs to do. Yo, you are too quick with these things.
I'm too quick. Cody's been kissing babies and hugging grandma since he got here.
700 days.
Yeah, it's only been 2 years, bro. Like, he ain't supposed to. Who else is gonna fill in his spot, bro? Like, Cody Rhodes is the baby face. They have literally been waiting since John Cena.
Let me ask you a question.
They have been waiting for that.
Let me ask you a question, and y'all better say the right answer. Who's cooler, Cody Rhodes or CM Punk?
Cooler,
for sure.
So what I'm saying is, it's like Cody Rhodes is starting to look like a cornball.
But that doesn't matter though to people like you. His audience isn't for people like you though, bro.
It doesn't matter. Yeah,
people like me. People like people who enjoy entertaining television.
People who don't like the overachieving, corny baby face. His audience
he's
is
a new age
audience, bro.
Eat your vitamins.
Hogan,
eat your prayers.
You know what? You're putting me in a bad spot. You know why you put me in a bad spot? Because now I have to defend Hogan, who I don't like. Hogan wasn't corny.
He was corny. He was corny.
No. Hogan wasn't corny. Yo, real talk. This is going to sound real, but yo, don't get it twisted. Hogan 2024, nothing. I'm talking about 7-year-old, 4-year-old Sean. This was the coolest thing in elementary school, bro.
Yes, but we're talking if it was us.
Yeah, but you were a kid though, bro. You know what was cool in my elementary school? This was cool in my era.
Well,
that was corny. This
was cool before he added this.
Yeah, Tony Yayo. Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, this was cool in my era, but for some people, that just wasn't for some people. You know what I mean? Like, some people found it corny. Like Cody Rhodes, like I said, he's the baby face that they've been waiting for since John Cena. They tried to make it Roman Reigns, but the fans said we don't want Roman Reigns. And Cody Rhodes has been accepted worldwide more than people had thought he would. Honestly, like I thought the fans would at least had turned on him or gave up on him at least a little bit, especially after he lost to Roman. But he continues to get cheered. Now, maybe that time will come, but to be the type of babyface that Cody is, it's very hard to be cheered more than you hear the boos. Like when Cena was around, it was always the mixed reactions and stuff. Roman Reigns boos and cheers. So,
Sean, may I?
Sure, of course.
Yo, let me ask this question to all three of you. Do they love Cody because they actually love Cody, or do you think they love Cody because he was the first one to defect from AEW, which was a thorn in their side at the time?
I don't think so. I think they love Cody because Cody completely eviscerated WWE when he left and said whatever he wanted. And he came back and they literally had to kiss his feet. Like, I think that that's it. I don't think it's because he defected from AEW. I think it's how he left and how he came back, to me.
Yeah, and the way I look at it, realistically, if they didn't want Cody to be Cody, he wouldn't be Cody right now. They could have easily killed him when he came back, without a question. Especially the stuff leading up to stuff like he beat Seth Rollins when he had a torn pec, and like legit. Like, so I think that was kind of the sign that they maybe had some plans for him. But I mean, Cody's only just another guy. So realistically, if they didn't want to position him in that position, he wouldn't be in that position.
Go, Conrad. I know you got.
I disagree totally. They needed Cody to be that guy. Think about this. Let's go back to WrestleMania 38, not 39, when if it was good, this person did it. And if it was bad, this person did it. Go back to 38 because it was, He was in charge, right? He was making those moves. They got Bruce to come in. They got the EVP to defect. That is taking a sledgehammer to your Lego playset where the leg is.
We talked about this on your show.
That's a part of it. That's a part of it, but you also have to look at it from a booking. Like, there's been a lot of people who've also come back and have been ruined. You know what I mean?
Hold on. I'm not done yet, though.
Go ahead, Cameron.
He's not that much different than he was before. The wrestling moveset hasn't changed or any of that. And I know some people are like, that doesn't matter. His persona is different.
He's exactly the same. He's exactly the same.
He's the exact same person. So they wanted the music. Would they have allowed that for anyone else? They needed someone to defect. Who was going to beat Roman at that time? Lesnar loses. Excuse me.
I would say it should have been
Forgive
Seth
me.
Rollins, but I would have said it should have been Seth Rollins, but you're right, it never would have happened.
Minute Maid, man, excuse me. We go through all these people. There was no one to beat Roman Reigns at that time. I said the only person who could do it is either you get Braun Breaker, someone from NXT's got to come up and you got to push them to get to his level, or you got to bring someone in to do it. Cody was the first to defect. They had that big money on the table. They were like, "You gonna sign or no?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm in." And once he signed it, I was like, "He's getting the belt." As soon as the lights went down, I heard the doom doom. I have the clip of Derek swearing. Derek swore instantly when he knew, because he was like, "They did it again. I hate this company." And I was like, "Yep, I told you, bro." And I'm like, he's gonna be the guy to beat Roman. While he was coming down the aisle in the red, white, and blue, I was like, "Yep, he's gonna be the guy to beat him." I already can tell you right now.
And they needed somebody like that too. Like I said, they've been waiting for somebody to feel like, because you're gonna have different characters, you're gonna have different heels and baby faces, but when it comes to the baby faces like a Cody, a Cena, a Hogan, you're gonna need those people in wrestling too.
They
and
come
Cody,
out once in a generation. Yeah, when I tell you, I still watch WrestleMania 38 and how he came up from that still gives me goosebumps.
bro, I was there in the crowd. Like,
see, and people are like, listen, they were trying to like pan away from the signs that said Cody until he came out. They were trying forever. The crowd in itself, just the way you hear the commentators screaming, all of that, like undeniable and blah 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 and all that. It was classic. He's a classic babyface, but classic babyfaces are not meant to hold the title. They're just meant to me. They're just meant to chase it.
Isn't it weird though, Sean? Like the treatment in AEW of Cody by the fans versus WWE, it's just so awkward to me. Like he threw the belt in the crowd, throw it back. I remember he looked hurt. Like
I think it was more so too. I think Cody Rhodes was in kind of like a Jeff Jarrett position in AEW, because I always looked at it as if he had been the AEW World Champion, I always felt like they would have used that because he was the EVP. So they would have been like, "Oh, you politicking." And I mean, people in those positions are going to have to eat that stuff, you know what I mean? Because they know what's behind the scenes. And I think with WWE, he's not one of those guys. So it's kind of like he's just another guy.
But he booked that himself. He self-sabotaged himself in this. Like, you can say Tony agreed to it, but you had some stroke, bro. You don't have to agree to do any of that. Why did you agree to that?
I think maybe that's part of the reason, though. I think he didn't want that asterisk. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, we talked for years, and that's one of the main catalysts about Jeff Jarrett and TNA, bro. Like,
Dusty.
Like how many times did he make himself the champion? You know what I mean? Like, he had to create another company to make himself the world champion because he wasn't going to do it, you know, in WWE. So I think that was a catalyst again. I think Cody, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think he kind of understood that. Like, if I were to do that, I don't want that next to my resume. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want, because, you know, the fans they were already booing him before he even touched the championship. He only won the TNT title like 3 times, but you know what I'm saying? Every time he touched it, that was enough for the fans to be like, nope, it's too much, you know? So when he comes back to WWE, you're right. He was the guy that's like, all right, it's somebody we need right now. We can use him. Cody's a company guy too, and he's just going to come in and be just another guy. He's not going to be involved in anything, just be another superstar. So,
and I think some of that stuff that he says too comes off and it hurts him. It comes back to bite him. If you remember stuff that people say, Punk to Cody, whoever, but you remember the stuff that all these guys say, and then it comes back to haunt him. I'll even say Tony Khan in there. Like, you've said stuff, and then why are you saying this now? Mm-hmm. Cody Rhodes went out there and says, "Oh, I love AEW. I appreciate everything AEW did for me, blah, blah, blah." And then he's on NXT, like, making jokes now. Like, what is this, bro?
Yeah.
What are you doing? It's a bad look. Ethan Page, it's a bad look. And I'm going to say this respectfully, Brian Pillman Jr., like, what are you making jokes for? You're getting leapfrogged by people coming in, bro. They're playing you.
Yeah.
Let's get back to a couple comments and we'll continue the conversation. McKinney talking about the Netflix deal. He's saying that the first Netflix debut is going to be a face-to-face at Rock. That's what Crystal, Conrad, and Malik were saying. Emily says, what draft? That's Conrad's line. What draft? Hashtag what rankings? Favorite Vinny says, the only Vinny we like, I should say, says, Roman should be on both shows. Crystal's 100% right. Quilly says, what draft? What brand split? Conrad laughing. Emily for Sheezy. Also, SummerSlam 88. The only time Hogan wore the trunks that said Mega Powers. He was such a selfish son of. Lord have mercy.
Doesn't work for me, brother.
The only Vinny I like says Roman will always be better than Seth. Yeah, Roman is better than Seth, but Seth deserves better.
No, I think it's easy to say that now because before the tribal chief stuff though, I don't know, bro. It was
Seth was the dude. Seth was the dude. Roman, the Roman hate was because of the Cena hate. No, it's because Roman was horrible as the big dog.
It's company guy versus people's guy. I will always stand by that argument. And the only time the people's guy gets pushed is when things get tough.
McKinney says Cena was a big guy with no tattoos that you could take home to grandma. So Vince, that's to Malik's point, knew what he was doing. That's why they never turned John Cena heel. Lord have mercy. Clown says when Disco Inferno joins them, they jump the shark. Talking about NWO, I guess. Lisa Hawthorne says socks. Okay. Emily Forsheezy says, don't turn your back on the Wolfpack unless Disco Inferno's in the group. Disco Inferno versus La Parka, 1998 Super Bowl.
Terrible.
You're welcome. Nick Cage versus Matt Hardy. Congratulations on seeing that. McKinney says, yeah, eventually we'll see the Tongans versus the Samoans. That's a fact that is coming down the pike. Yep. Conrad, think about where we're going next. Vinny says, Priest has low-key has had a better title run than Cody. We'll talk about that in a second, too. Clown says, that's why Tommy Dreamer didn't pin Raven for over 2 years. The chase is better. That's to Crystal's point. The only Vinny we like says Roman's return should be like his 2020 wreck everyone and leave Cody and Solo. When he comes back, he'll be, the tribal chief. It'll be all good. McKinney says, I like Cody as champ, but when your villains are lackluster, what can you do? I think Cody should have been on Raw and turned Randy Orton heel to give him a real super villain to work with. So McKinney's giving Cody a little bit of a break. And the only Vinny we like says Roman is going to be like Austin Rock babyface, has a cool factor. Cody is like Cena, which is a cornier character. So I want to get into the title reign because we're kind of coming down the home stretch here, talking about Triple H, the booking, the current state of the WWE. But before I get into my point about Cody's title reign, Conrad, what do you got? Because I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Shane McMahon, right?
We can. I'll say this real quick about Cody's title reign. I think it's been self-sabotaged again by how they did the draft. It felt weird that they kept the World Championship on Raw, and Raw's the hotter show. But Raw isn't good because it's 3 hours. Like, I still have an issue with the time and the length of the show sometimes. But SmackDown,
hold on, not to cut you, but a year ago, how were we talking about Raw? And now we're saying Raw is the hottest show. That's a huge change from 365 days ago. That's huge.
That's true.
Yeah, but it's also huge that SmackDown sucks now.
Yeah, SmackDown is awful.
No, both of right. What I'm saying is, I remember telling you a year ago, Sean, like, I never watched Raw. Like, I skipped through it. Like,
me too.
Now, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Raw is on. Like, it's 8 o'clock. And even if it's 3 hours, it's long, you still get so many great clips from it. Do you see what I'm saying to you? That was not how we felt 12 months ago. That's huge.
Because they're training you on how to watch the program. Listen, I know that we're on here to debate WWE, and whoever listens to this, I will never discredit WWE's business acumen, and I will also always bring up their shady tactics. Whether you are like, oh, well, that's just business. Well, when someone drops mustard on your burger and you said no mustard, that's just business too. Then, like, you know what I mean? But let me say this then. When it comes down to what they do, their business acumen, they are teaching you in these clips that, hey, if you don't have Netflix this month, guess how you can watch Raw on YouTube? You can watch it in short form. They are teaching you how to do that. Oh, you like watching Raw real quick? Go to Narcolepsy Boy 94's TikTok. He can stream it. He'll tell you everything that happened in 3 clips. Check them out. Boom, done. You're getting paid. Go watch Sean's Raw review this week after WrestleMania. It's amazing. Like, that's what they're teaching you to go out and do. Seek it. And they really want you to come to their channels so they get the revenue. It's all part of this game that they're playing. And like I said, Sean, we can get into the shady business tactics. We could talk Shane. I could go on all day about this. We could talk about the people who haven't gotten anything in the company. I'll go off about Cedric Alexander if people want me to.
Yo, this is Clash of the Podcast. You are the co-founder of Clash of the Podcast. You tell us where we're going next.
Listen, man.
I know you got stuff. I know you got stuff that I definitely want to hear Crystal and Malik's take on.
Where do you want me to go first?
I think we should go with the Cedric Alexander kind of swag, Bobby Lashley kind of swag.
Yeah, when you look at those people, and Malik, I know you're a big Omos fan. Shout out to Omos. Why is this dude not on television at all? At all, bro. It makes zero sense that you
I feel like first of all, I like that I've been asking WWE to put guys like Cedric and Ashante back in NXT for years, bro. Like, put those guys in NXT if you're not gonna do nothing with them on the main roster. They're kind of just they're too talented to be sitting in the back, not to do anything. And at least if they're in NXT, they don't have to be main event guys, but at least they're on TV doing something. You know what I mean? You're wasting a lot of their years just sitting in the back doing nothing. So I'm glad they finally made that move. Don't know how long they'll be down there, but I like that they made that move with those guys to be put in NXT.
But that's also a setup for failure. Didn't they just fire Dijak for making main roster money and being on NXT? So then why would you take two brothers?
No, he didn't resign. They didn't redo his contract. So they never redid his contract.
They didn't release him. They let him fly away. So that's the same thing, though, right?
But I don't understand. I don't understand why they took him from NXT to Raw if they didn't have any plans for him to begin with. Like,
correct. So then, why would you put Cedric Alexander in the same position someone else just failed at? Like, I'm watching this, and if I'm Cedric, I'd be like, someone just got fired because are you about to fire me? And they're like, no. I mean, they're probably going to get whatever they can out of him, push him a little bit, and then have him lose some matches, and then they're like, here you go,
kick him out the door.
Mark my words, y'all.
I think NXT could be a good regrowth for a lot of people though who may not be doing stuff on the main roster. I'll put Mandy Rose as an example before she got fired, right? But before she went down to NXT, I mean, who was she on the main roster as somebody who just loses to people and was kind of a nonchalant? Like, I didn't even know Mandy Rose had that in the bag until she went to NXT.
Fire and Desire, right?
Yeah, when she was Fire Desire and stuff like that. But like, I didn't know Mandy Rose actually had a little bit in the bag until she went to NXT and they had Toxic Attraction. I'm like, has she always been this good, or are they just not doing nothing? Or they just not doing nothing with her? Like, I don't know what it was. Like, she thrived a lot in NXT and became a top star so much when people were excited for her to come to the main roster and be world champion. And then they obviously let her go and stuff. So that never happened. But I look at NXT because NXT to me is the best show in wrestling. I look forward to NXT more than any show every week. I watch NXT every week. I never stopped watching it, even when they revamped it to 2.0. Like, I've been faithfully watching NXT since Black and Gold.
You are an NXT guy, that's for sure.
And
so
I
NXT,
don't watch it at all.
Yeah, NXT to me has always been very, very good. I love what Shawn Michaels has done down there. I love the people that he's built and the talent they have. The women's division down there is ridiculously stacked. Not to mention the people they got bringing in. And I like the talent that they have. So, but I feel like with people, if you're not gonna do something for people on the main roster like a Cedric. Or even like a Shinsuke. Where's Shinsuke been at, bro? Put him in. Take it back to NXT again.
AJ Styles, even.
Yeah, he's in Japan.
Yeah, like
they're both in Japan. Yeah.
Like, do a little something with people because you're always. I feel like with this new NXT regime, they obviously revamped it because I think they wanted to get back to the old ways where they can build up talent under their brand, where they can give claim to credit. Like, they build these people up, like the Obafimis and the Jada Parker and stuff like that, instead of getting people from the indies and having those people. But I think they're going to start sprinkling a little bit more of that. Like, they're bringing in some people from the outside, but they're still going to build up their people on their developmental brand that they want. But they also can bring up some people from the main roster who aren't doing much. And not saying they have to go down there and be great, but like, as I said, Cedric Alexander to me was always a really good wrestler. I was a big fan of him when he was in that Cruiserweight Classic. He won me over. That's the first time I ever seen him wrestle like that. So when I watched him in that Cruiserweight Classic, I'm like, yo, this guy is really, really good. And the Cruiserweight stuff that he had was okay, but
check out his ROH stuff, him and ACH. Really good.
I'm gonna check it out. But I always felt like there's always people. I mean, and I guess that's always people in the back. There's always people that are gonna be in the back that I guess you feel like deserve more opportunities that won't get them because maybe they just don't have nothing with them to do. I don't know, man. But somebody like Omos, like you mentioned, Omos, people always come at me crazy when I was trying to defend him. But people think I'd be joking. I'm like, bro, this guy's 7'3". He's a giant. He obviously isn't gonna go out there and wrestle like a Ricochet or something like people expect. Because I've seen those comments. People were like, well, he can't go out there and do this. I'm like, bro, he's 7'3". You're not gonna see him jumping off the top rope at 7'3". What do you like? It's not WWE 2K, bro.
Was Shaquille O'Neal dribbling his legs and going behind the back?
Like all to me, they have to do with Omos is just present him where he just feels like a dominant threat. And I feel like what they done with Obafemi is perfect, but they literally could do the same thing with him with Omos. All he has to do is come out there.
Obafemi has a little bit more athletic ability.
He does, but I'm saying from the dominant perspective though. Okay. Like when Obafemi comes out, He has the swagger with the entrance, like the soldier walk he has to the ring and stuff. Like you feel like he has a dominant presence to him. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like that's all I had to have. Omos, just give him a dominant presence. Like
before I give my next question to Crystal, I did see Obafemi's like debut on Level Up and how he was talking. I was like, burn this tape so no one ever sees
that's
how
not even his
lame
real
that
voice.
was.
Like that, hit the accent. You know the Obafemi accent right now.
Yeah.
That's not even his real voice.
Yeah,
he sound like a white guy, bro. Go back and look at that Level Up.
Not even that, though. I was like, burn this tape. He sounds like a nice guy. He's like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm like, burn this. I don't ever want to see this guy. Like burn it.
If you heard this tape and you didn't even see who was on, like if you didn't see Obafemi's face, like you wouldn't have known that was him. Like, no, that's Obafemi, bro. Like what? Like
Crystal, I want to point out the same thing I brought up to Malik, but this time I'm gonna use different people. Triple H has had the book, right? Why hasn't people like Ricochet, like Triple H could fix this, and all I hear is like, oh, he took care of these guys in NXT. What happened? Like, you can't take care of Nakamura, Ricochet, MVP, Lashley. Like, you can't take care of these guys now. You just horrible booking. And the usual excuse I hear is, oh, that was Gomez's fault. No, Triple H has had the book for over a year. He could have done something. These 5 matches on pay-per-views, that there's not enough time to make all these people stars. You could put more matches on the card. I'm glad SummerSlam has 7 matches, but what do you think of like what he's done with some of these people?
I feel like he hasn't done anything with those people. I'm so disappointed. I really like Bobby Lashley a lot. I've been so disappointed with how he used them. I'm like, I didn't know if Bobby was injured when he started like managing. He gets back into wrestling. Everything is so lackluster. Shinsuke Nakamura, I know his athletic capability, but every time I see him, I think he's a joke. I feel like people who are too gimmicky, meaning like fantasy gimmicky, I feel like Triple H does not pay attention to. Aside from Lashley, like I don't get it. Like I don't know if he feels like, you know, MVP is a part of the past. I can't call it. But I feel like I've never taken Shinsuke seriously. Ever.
Montez Ford. How did Montez Ford have that performance at Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, I agree.
And you did nothing.
You did nothing with it. I agree.
I think more so too. I think some of these people honestly can't be saved at this point. Like Shinsuke, Shayna Baszler. I think their peaks were when Vince was in charge and when he didn't pull the trigger on those people, like WrestleMania.
Take that down.
With Shinsuke at WrestleMania, when he lost to AJ and then turned heel. Shayna Baszler when she didn't beat Becky Lynch during the pandemic. Like, I feel like by the time Vince was in charge and then he left, some of those people, I feel like it was just too hard. Because by the time Triple H came, nobody cared about Shinsuke anymore. Nobody cared about Shayna Baszler anymore. Like, they had been washed for so many years, bro. It was like, I don't know if there's much they could do to say. Now, I did think when Shayna beat Ronda last year at SummerSlam, I thought that could be a start because nobody had submitted Ronda in WWE. So I'm like, oh, this could maybe this is the time. Maybe this could mean something. And then it went nowhere. So I feel like some of those people you mentioned, Conrad, I don't know if some of those people can be saved at this point because they were wasted for so many years.
I guess. I mean, that I don't know. I thought if you're such a great booker, I would assume you could save somebody.
No, I agree. And I feel like when he starts, one thing I realized about Triple H, when he starts grouping people, he's over them. Like you start grouping Montez with Bobby Lashley. When you start doing that weird grouping, because now you see Shayna Baszler's with
Sonya Deville and Zoe Stark.
Exactly. When you start, right, even Zoe Starks, she came out with a little bit of a bang, a little bit of push, right? And she was with Trish Stratus, and all of a sudden, when you start getting people grouped up, it's over.
Should hashtag snap famous? So let me ask you this then. Should Bianca be worried that they put her with Jake?
I've said that. I said that to you guys when they did the WrestleMania preview in Vegas. Remember I said that? I said it from then. I said, I do not appreciate how they put her last on the card. I remember I was like, I'm not interested anymore. I know once my interest starts like waning, I'm like, something's off. It's off. I think she should be very worried.
I disagree on that. I think Bianca Belair is solidified in that women's division. She's one of the very few people that she may take a backseat here and there, but give it a year or two from now, she'll be the champion again. She'll be at the top of the division. I think she's mainly just paired with Jade Cargill because they don't fully trust Jade Cargill to be by herself yet, and they want Bianca to try to help her out as much because I think Triple H wants to push Jade Cargill as well. But I feel like he's kind of like, I don't know if she could really be by herself yet. And I'm assuming when whoever turns on who, that's going to be the feud that they end up doing, whoever makes that heel turn eventually. So.
I need Bianca to turn heel. I need it. I'm so
I'd be
tired
okay with
of
that.
her
I'd be okay with that.
coming out with that ponytail and slapping 5. You see how you feel about Cody? That's how I feel about Bianca.
You think Bianca's corny now?
I do.
Wow. Okay.
But I have for a while. I'm telling you, when they brought her out, and remember I said to you guys, like, is it because it's Black History Month? I'm so confused about why they're doing this. Like, they don't, like, this wasn't needed. I specifically remember telling you guys that. I'm now not interested. And I feel like, again, her athletic capability is amazing. Her in-ring talent, you cannot deny. But now I'm bored, and I'm like, every time I see her in the tag team, I'm like, okay, like you said, the women's division in NXT is stacked. It's really not stacked to me on SmackDown. I'm bored.
Yeah, SmackDown is very lackluster when it comes to
you can say trash. It's okay.
Well, the chat is definitely feeling y'all because a lot of these comments are tied into what y'all have been saying. To Crystal's point, Dark Elite Eric, welcome Eric to the show. He says Triple H can only book one show at a time. So your point about first SmackDown's good, then Raw is good, and it seems like never both are good at the same time. Regarding what Malik was saying, almost Vinny says almost was his girlfriend's favorite wrestler. Eric says maybe take an hour off Raw to Conrad's point. McKinney's talking about Cedric and Ashante and the Adonis. They're gonna, after the contract expires, main roster money, they're gonna be gone. You know what? Future endeavor. You're probably right. Emily's Fashizi, Mandy Rose firing to this day. Dumbest thing ever. Did they really have a choice? They had to let her go.
Yeah, they did.
Mandy was under Triple H and NXT. Thumbs up from McKinney. NXT, we all agree NXT's doing really well. The only Vinny we like says NXT, the JV of WWE. I just watched main roster, the varsity WWE Raw and SmackDown. Well, you're missing a lot, Vinny. You need to check out NXT. NXT's better than SmackDown right now.
Yeah, NXT's so good, man.
And Conrad saying the biggest fumble in WWE is Montez Ford, which I agree with. And I wanted to point out that Shinsuke Nakamura legit was 0-39 in 2024. So,
I think most of his pairings were with Seth Rollins too, because I was there when they had that last man standing match. Yeah, so that's the match that most people thought Shinsuke was going to win too, and then they didn't have him win either. So, like I said, I don't know if some of these people can be saved. Like Karrion Kross is in that boat too, bro. I thought when he came back, he was going to be.
I used to love him when he first came out. Oh, I loved him
when he came back in 2022. I was like, oh, maybe Triple H can revive him, and then. I don't know, man. Maybe 5
chances for him, but none for some others.
I really want to see. I want to see now that Dexter Lumis is in the Y6 what they do with him as well. Because
I always liked him too. I always liked him. He was a little interesting to me.
Yeah,
he was a little interesting guy. So I feel like honestly, they always, I don't know why they have all these factions either too, man. There's so many factions going on right now. I feel like the only factions you really want to be in are either the Bloodline or the Judgment Day. If it ain't those two, then you kind of on the outside.
Yo, real quick, Prince Rockstar's coming with heat, y'all. We got to go to I'm sorry, we got to go to more comments and we'll talk a little bit more. Emily says Shinsuke's run has been shockingly mishandled. No question about that. Clown says, but he surfed the waves and provided his daughter laughter, or provided for his daughter. Yo, Prince Rockstar, welcome to the show. He says, because of triple fraud, he is 0-39. Jocelyn in the building, welcome. Lashley versus Moose, TNA is better. Give us to that. Emily's Fashizi, Bianca. Okay, to Malik's point, Bianca is basically put on the back burner, teaming with Jade until they build up Jade versus Bianca feud. That's what Conrad was saying as well. Conrad says Jade in WWE and AEW. I say AEW. Emily says everyone forgot heel Bianca and NXT was good. To Crystal's point, Vinny says Triple H is an overrated booker. I still love him. So you love him, but he's an overrated booker? Okay, Vinny, you're lucky we love you, man. He also says the 3 people I'm most excited to see this weekend aren't even wrestling. Taker's retired. Triple H, Triple H retired, and Reigns. Reigns will be there. Prince Rockstar, we're tired of poor Triple H booking. Yes. And Conrad's asking the question to the audience, should TNA be worried watching out for WWE and NXT as far as their intentions.
Low key.
And Lizzie says yes. WWE will eventually steal their talent. Hendry, Grace, and the Rascals.
I would say the
perfect. Go ahead, bro. Because I'm
the TNA stuff. Low key, because they already grooming Joe Hendry to make that jump, man. So
of course,
Jordan Grace will be in the Royal Rumble.
Jordan Grace,
Joe Hendry now is, I think, the only guy under a TNA, and he's under a TNA contract full time, but he's also allowed to work NXT full time now too, and house show stuff too. So that's a part of his deal now. So
it's a done deal.
That's a done deal. Yeah, that's a done deal. So
why would you loan your top talent out though? That's weird.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe there's some people they could have go to, but they've yet to let some NXT talent go over there who are top talent though. So I got
and they haven't.
So I got to wait and see. Now if there's like a Obafemi shows up to TNA one day, then I'm like, okay, maybe they could do something. But like the only people that have showed up have been like a Tatum Paxley, Charlie Dempsey, and those are great wrestlers. Like I like the stuff that they do with NXT, but they're not Joe Hendry. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not that level. So.
I want to go around the table as we wrap this thing up, man. It's been a great show. We're going to start with ladies first, go to Crystal, going to go to Malik, then we're going to go to the co-founder of Clash of the Podcast, my brother Conrad. Yo, 2 questions as we go around the horn. Crystal, we start with you. 2 questions. Number 1, the point of the show. I need you to grade Triple H's performance as the booker of WWE on a scale of F through A. And then I want you to name the person who will end Cody Rhodes, Freudian slip, Cody Rhodes championship reign.
Okay. I give Triple H a strong B+.
Strong B+. Okay. Would you like to elaborate on why? Well, you kind of told us why, but if you want to say a little bit more.
I feel like where he has taken this company such a short amount of time has been amazing. I love his long play of stories and playing out a storyline, which I've always said to you. I love what he does with his favorites and how he pushes them. I also love that he doesn't rush talent to do things. Like I love the fact of how long he made Jade Cargill wait. We still see she should have waited a little more, but I love the effort he puts into certain talent. So that's why I would give him a B+.
Okay, let me give you a follow-up question before you go into who's going to end Cody's championship reign.
Go ahead.
If it's not an A, because you just listed a lot of good things, right?
Yeah.
Which is why it's a B+.
Yes.
I'm curious why it's not. If that's the case, I'm curious why it's not an A. What is lacking?
What's lacking is people like, again, Montez Ford, and certain that part for me, and the fact that one of our followers just said, there's the 2 shows can't be great at the same time, and they should be, which means you're having a problem balancing them. So for me, that's why it's not A. It's not an A+. Right? Okay. The fact that I'm not rushing to Friday night and Monday nights, I'm not locked in. It's like one or the other, and I can catch my recaps on YouTube is why I'm not giving him an A+.
I love it. Good job, Chris. I love it.
And then I feel like the person to end Cody's reign is going to be Randy Orton.
Randy Orton.
I feel like that. Randy Orton is going to do a very big heel turn. And
I know. I can see that coming down the pipe, the feud that is. Yeah. But you think Randy's going to get it done?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I like that.
Because I feel like Roman and everybody else that's going to be a strictly bloodline situation. That's what he's going to be fighting. So I feel like they need to give Cody someone else. He did Roman 2 years in a row. That's done. Like nobody's bigger than him in the bloodline. It's not going to be The Rock. I think it's going to be Randy.
I love it. Before we go to Malik,
The Rock, please.
Before we go to Malik, a little breaking. Emily's for Sheezy. We appreciate you dropping some knowledge. This is exclusive on Clash of the Podcast tonight through our boy Emily's. He says breaking news: Jacob Henry, Mark Henry's son, has signed a deal with World Wrestling Entertainment.
Wow.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Emily's. Thank you, Emily's. All right. Malik, Narcolepsy Boy 94, the question is this. The questions are this.
Yeah.
What would you grade on a scale of F through A, Triple H's performance as the booker of World Wrestling Entertainment, and who do you see being the man to end the American Nightmares championship reign?
I'm going to also go with the solid B+ for me. I think for me, he's improved the product a lot better to be more watchable than what it was, because I'm excited to watch WWE's product now compared to what it used to be. I understand that everything's going to be perfect, so there are some flaws still. Like the Street Profits don't know what they're doing. Like they could definitely be positioned a lot better. I definitely feel like there are other people who definitely could be positioned better, which could, I mean, that could always be the case, right? For many people. Jey Uso is one of them. I'm not really sure if he's going to get that shot or not. And, you know, it may be a little bit too late by the time he gets it. So it's one of those scenarios. But I do like what he's done with the product as a whole, as far as the people that he has built. You know, somebody like a Gunther. Like, I was a little worried about Gunther in that Vince era. Even when he won the IC title, I was like, oh man, I'm okay. It's starting off cool, but I guess I was kind of waiting, like, how long is it gonna last, type stuff. Like, how long is it gonna last before he out here losing to Ricochet in 3 seconds? You know what I mean? Like, before we get to the end of it. And I love what Gunther's presentation has been. Damian Priest it's turned me into a little bit of a believer. I wasn't really a big Damian Priest guy as much, and now going into SummerSlam, if he happens to be Gunther, honestly, I'd be okay with that. I'd be like, all right, you know, I'm all right with that move. You know what I'm saying? I think Damian Priest has been able to level up a lot. So I like the presentation of the Wyatts, what they've done with them. The Bloodline stuff has still been great. I like, you know, the Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley stuff they've been doing, you know. So I wish they would be able to expand more women's storylines that don't involve the title on the main roster like they do with NXT. So that's still something they need to do. And need to focus on the women tag titles. Might as well get rid of those because those don't mean nothing. So tag titles, so I would say I would give it a B+. I think he has been able to. I think we have to remember, you know, that 2018, 2019 era, WWE was so like bad, like from a creative perspective. I think Triple H has been able to dig that out of the hole and bring it back up a little bit. He's still got a lot of work to do, but he's been able to dig it out of that hole where it was like so bad, like you didn't even care. Like, thank God for AEW at that time, because if AEW hadn't come around in 2019, I mean, people who only strictly would watch WWE, they'd have been depressed. I ain't gonna lie to you.
No cap at all. Absolutely,
they'd have been fairly depressed in that situation. So, as far as who beats Cody, there's only two people. Randy Orton has to be one of them. Just based off the story and the feud, I mean, we know that's bound to happen. Now, whether that's the WrestleMania match next year, I guess that's to be determined, because I still think you talked about Roman and Rock. I still think there's a good chance they do Cody versus The Rock next year at WrestleMania. So I guess we'll have to see whatever happens. But I think Randy still being in the peak of his career, and I think he might be the guy to break that record. Everybody's talking about Cena and all that. I think he's going to be that guy to break that record eventually. So I'm going to say Randy. If it was up to me, though, I'd be nasty, and if it was up to me, I would have it be Solo. That's just me, though.
Really, Solo as in Solo on Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh.
I wouldn't even have Roman Reigns come back at SummerSlam. I'd have Solo strictly just win, and have him complete, and I have Roman come back afterwards, because the whole purpose of Solo stepping up, if you look at the promos, he said he didn't want to, but Roman ain't been nowhere to be found since WrestleMania, so we don't know where he's at. So Solo's like, somebody got to step up. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to bring the title back to the Bloodline. And I feel like if he were to bring the title into the Bloodline, Roman comes back afterwards, what could he really say at that point? As far as Solo being the tribal chief, like, you weren't here. You was gone. You couldn't beat Cody. I brought the title back, and I beat Cody, and I got the new Bloodline to back me up, too. So I feel like at that point, how could Roman deny it at that point? You know what I mean? Like, I'm the tribal chief now. So I feel like that would do more work for, and it would be, I feel like, I don't know, it'd just be a bit of a swerve, like a shock factor. I don't know.
It definitely would.
I don't know the last time we've seen a championship reign where somebody won, where you were like, maybe since Jinder Mahal, and that didn't turn out great for many people, but like, I don't think many people thought Jinder Mahal was going to beat Randy Orton. You know what I'm saying? That time. So that might have been the last like true shocking championship win that you saw with your own eyes, that you didn't believe what you were watching at that time. Like, if Solo were to beat Cody and then SummerSlam went off the air and you didn't get anything, it wouldn't be a popular decision. I can tell you that. People would be mad.
Oh, yeah.
But the interest would be there, especially for Roman to come back even more to now take down this guy. Because there's one thing that I think people, to me, don't give Solo credit enough for, is that and somebody else mentioned this on my podcast, but Solo has done a really good job of making you want Roman to come back even more than you probably expected. Like you wanted
Yeah.
Roman to come back, but him copying and doing everything Roman did with his catchphrases and his swagger and everything, it's so annoying where you're like, Roman, please come back, bro, and handle this guy. Like,
Oh, yeah.
He
I'm
thinks he's
telling you,
you.
since he wears shoes now, I can't sing Solo.
Yeah, like he comes out. One of the things that pissed me off, and it's so little, but he come out with these gloves. He has these gloves that come out.
The weekend gloves.
But he still has his thumb taped in the glove. I'm like, why did he have the wrist?
Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's like, but I think it's purpose, like, to be annoying, though. You know what I'm saying? It's all for it to be annoying, to get under your skin. So they've done a really good job with that aspect. So I mean, obviously, if Roman Reigns is ready to come back at SummerSlam, they'd be foolish not to do it. Like, who says no to that? You know what I mean? But who says it's even Roman, though? Maybe The Rock shows up or something. It could be a lot of factors with this bloodline storyline. I think that's one thing I love about this bloodline storyline, whether it was on Triple H or Vince. There's been a lot of layers to the storyline where there's been a lot of times when they got so dry out where you did, like, I don't know where they could possibly go from here, but they always found a way to revive it and make it better every single time. So it makes it interesting to see what's going to happen. So that would be me, though. I think it's probably going to be Randy Orton. If I had to guess, probably around like Survivor Series, because Cody Rhodes is going to be the champion again. He's not going to lose it and never win it again. He's going to be the champ a couple of times. So I would say probably Randy. If it was up to me, though, I would like it to be Solo.
All right, that's what's up. Before I throw it to Conrad, I want Conrad to kind of bring us home. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say Triple H's job as a booker, objectively, I'll go C+. I think there's a lot lacking, but I'd be foolish to say he hasn't done a halfway decent job. So I'll go C+. Obviously, the Jey Uso situation. Obviously, the Hurt Business situation. Obviously, the Bobby Lashley situation. Obviously, LA Knight taking forever. You know, those are glaring issues for me. So being objective, which is very hard for me when I'm talking about Paul Levesque, I will say C+.
One thing I want to point out, one more thing. One of the main reasons that could bug up a lot of people out, especially me with the Triple H era. You mentioned LA Knight, but not everything has to be a long-term build, man. Not everything has to be long-term. Not every superstar has to wait a long time to get the moment. Not every storyline has to be long-term. I get that long-term stuff can be great, but not everything has to be that. And I feel like that's one of the Triple H issues that he has in this era, is that everything has to be planned out long-term instead of just doing it within now and figuring it out, afterwards.
Right. And you have to be able to, and I'll piggyback off that, you have to be, and I'm taking a little bit of my tag team partner Conrad's thunder on this one, you have to be willing to make adjustments if you see a momentum going a certain way. You said that too, Malik. Both you and Conrad said that. You can't be so stuck in your ways where if you see somebody coming down the pike that's just setting the world on fire, and you're just going to say, no, we're going to hold off a little bit longer just because. And also, stop changing music.
Yeah, Def Rebel, man. Please, man.
Tiffany Stratton's music in NXT was fire.
It was all right. It was okay.
No, it was fire, and this music is trash, and there's so many other examples.
I'll tell you what really pissed me off, though. I was really hyped when they brought back Sheamus' old theme just to get rid of it. They gave it to it for a month, a good month.
And another glaring one is DIY, or to be specific, Johnny Gargano.
They gotta yell stuff so people know who it is. Like, what is this?
Like,
yeah, Def Rebel is really.
I think they're using AI. Truthfully,
yeah, they're very particular in certain music with like saying like people's catchphrases, nicknames, or people's names. I do like, though. Somebody said Braun Breaker's music. I disagree. They changed his theme. I like what he has now compared to what it used to be. So what he has now, I will accept that. The rock and roll, hardcore stuff compared to what he had, going into Money in the Bank. Oh man, I'll take it over that for sure.
Before we go to Conrad, I got another question to answer. And the second question, so I'm gonna say C+ objectively. The music, Jey Uso taking forever with LA Knight, the Hurt Business, Bobby Lashley, those factors, I cannot give him more than a C+. I think I'm being very generous with a C+. I think I'm being very fair with a C+. As far as who's going to take the championship away from Cody Rhodes, I'm going to, as college basketball fans would say, go chalk. And I'm going to say The Rock. Sometime between now and WrestleMania 41. I think The Rock somehow gets the belt off of Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Before we go to Conrad,
Hope you're right.
I see a couple of shake heads in there. It's all good. It's all good. I'm going Rock. So I'm going to say C+ for booking, and I'm going to say Rock wins the title. Conrad's going to wrap this thing up for us, but before we do, with his answer and to wrap up the show, but before we do, we got to acknowledge our wonderful listeners. When Conrad put the question out there, M. Leezy responded. He said Triple H is a booker B-, and Cody Rhodes is going to get dethroned by Randy Orton. Clown says A- for Triple H, and Cody goes evil. And when Cody goes evil Homelander, it'll be Jey Uso to.
I don't know about that.
I'm gonna remain. Clown, you've made my night, brother. You've made my night. You're buying shirts from me, and you're saying Jey Uso's gonna be undisputed champion. Love you, man. God bless you. Your mouth to God's ears. SG Dub, appreciate you, my G. A B for Triple H, Orton to win the title. McKinney, one of our best listeners, appreciate you. He says a B- for Triple H because your homeboy down at NXT is cooking with fish grease. That's another Sean Hubbard line on Clash to the podcast. Making SmackDown look bad. Triple H has missed a few things, but he's cooking. And it has to be Randy Orton to defeat Cody. It just works. Braun Breaker Music, M. Leezy says it's horrible. I agree. Quilly says, book the black wrestlers better. I agree with you, my brother. I agree with you. And the only Vinny we like says that it's a B for Triple H's booking and Randy Orton. Before I pass it over to give his response and to close us out, man, I'm a church dude. We're going to close out after our benediction. Like, I'm such a church dude. But before we do that, I want to say real quick that we want to congratulate XG Dub. We'll pick XG Dub to be the winner of the Triller contest. So XG Dub, hit me on Twitter in the DMs. You have now won the right to watch the upcoming massive Triller pay-per-view BKFC fight on August 3rd, SummerSlam night. You can watch it on demand though. So XG Dub, we appreciate you, and you have won the Clash of the Podcast Triller BKFC contest. Conrad, tell us what you think and close us out, my brother.
All right. Here's the thing. I'm gonna give Triple H a B-. And you're probably like, why? Because I'm gonna give him something for business because it is higher than normal and it is really high up. My beef with Triple H often stems from his creative. I'm disappointed in how they booked Chad Gable, Ricochet, the Street Profits. I could go down a whole list. I'm disappointed how the tag teams are used. The tag team situation is awful. They should have never split those belts. Never. And I don't know what they were doing. And then they gave Miz and R-Truth that token run. I wasn't the biggest fan of what they did with some of that stuff. Just being honest. And you were breaking up the other tag team. What is it? A-Town Down Under. You were breaking them up before you could even have them solidify their reign. Like, oh, okay. And now we got DIY as the tag champs. I'm worried for them on SmackDown. I feel like they might lose those titles to the Bloodline. People want to see Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga win them. It's just absolutely insane. Yeah, so I'll give him a B-, but they are selling out. I do think they insult you sometimes when they're selling out. They're like, yeah, the tickets were the most expensive ever. Thank you for paying. Yay. And they know that the ticket prices are way too high. But they are expanding business globally. So props to them for that. And as far as who do I think wins, I know Malik's probably about to shake his head. I think it's The Rock. It's either going to be at Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble. The Rock could be coming on to Netflix with the championship. I think that's the picture.
That's why I said that I wouldn't be surprised if they do Cody versus Rock at Mania, you know. Like,
and listen, if anything goes bad, they've got aces up the sleeve. You ready for them? Pow, CM Punk, we're going to push him. Pow, we got John Cena. They got stuff to throw back at you for the rest of the year. They are set.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I'm gonna feel if The Rock beats Cody for that title, I'm gonna feel the same way he did when he beat Punk, bro, for that title. I'm not gonna like that at all, bro. That's not gonna sit well with me.
That's all right. You'll be booing them because that's what everybody wanted. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Go cry to Mama Rhodes now. Yeah. He's just gonna go crazy.
No,
I
he's gonna
just
go crazy on Netflix. Rock gonna be, he gonna go wild on Netflix.
Yeah, and I just don't know, man. Like I said, to me, Cody's only got Randy Orton left to feud with, unless he's gonna give a chance to Carmelo. So I don't know what else to say about SmackDown, but is it overrated? That's for the fan base to decide, and what happens with that. But this was a fun debate, man. I really enjoyed talking about it, and I will give it to
Crystal and Malik introduce themselves and their platforms, and then close us out, bro.
Absolutely. Crystal, ladies first. Tell people where they can find you, what you do, and what you want them to know.
As Sean says, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I'll leave it at that. And you can find me on all handles at Day in the Life of Chris. So that's CRYS.
All right. Thank you for being on the show. We appreciate you. That
Love
is
you, sis.
The final boss lady. So make sure you guys get it right. Malik, TikTok famous.
Narcolepsy Boy 94 on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all platforms with the same stuff, same content, all wrestling related. So appreciate you guys for having me on, man. It's been a chat. It's been a while since I've chatted with Conrad. Me and Sean just caught up a couple weeks ago, but it's always a pleasure, fellas. It's always a pleasure. We go way back, So
yeah, we got that opposite schedule, man. Like it's been rough for me now.
That's how rock stars introduce themselves. Oh, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Just catch me on Day Like Chris. Oh, I have 1 million followers on TikTok. Catch me on Knuckles 194. All right, so that's how they do it. I'm Sean, Classic of Podcast, Hubbard Wrestling Weekly. You know where to find me. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Everything Pro Wrestling, EPW Show. Follow all the handles. Thank you guys for listening to us. We appreciate you. And thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on your way out. If you didn't, hit the like button and subscribe to all of these guys, their social medias and everything. Check out what they do. They produce a lot of really, really cool content. We appreciate, love you guys. For myself, for Sean, Malik, and Crystal, we are out. Deuces, ooses. God bless.